Okay, well, thank you for sending me the video of, oh, let me share my screen. So I thought we could look at this a little bit because there are some things in here that I think are good reminders of scaffolding and focus and helping her to, I guess, attention shift better on her own time. That was kind of one of the big things I've been thinking about for her. Gosh, I always hate seeing myself on camera. I had forgotten. I'm usually not the one on there anymore. That's okay. Okay, let me make sure the volume's up. That's actually kind of a funny moment there where she was like looking at it and she like picked up her hand and like put it down. It was because it was kind of hard to figure out how to open. There was no obvious things. But anyway, I was giving her time to kind of look at it or whatever, just kind of see what it was we were doing versus like opening it up right away and rushing and everything. So I purposely want to present her with opportunities for her to notice and adjust her attention on her own, which comes up starting now on this next part with the pumpkin.
This goes with it.
Well, so in hindsight, watching myself, I actually probably, if I gave myself feedback, I would have held out the pumpkin when I made that comment. When I said this goes with it, I probably would have, I kind of just had it there, and I knew she hadn't noticed it yet, but to make it a little more obvious, I probably would have done that a little differently. But I really wanted her to reorient to me without me telling her. But it gives, what happens is that gives her a really good practice of, you know, redirecting her own attention to the person at the pace that she can. And also that shows her like, oh, wow, there's something to be seen here. Like, oh, she's showing me something. But she's kind of discovering that through her own shifting versus look at this and you know, and for giving her too much. Well, you know this part about giving too much direction and all that, but I very specifically wanted to slow things down even more so that she had more of an opportunity to redirect her own attention specifically, especially working with items. It's really tricky when you're working with items. It's harder to feel relational, I guess you could say, or connected sometimes. Not that every single thing you do has to be all about, you know, one another, but it's also easy to get involved with activities that have a lot of parts or, you know, physical things to look at, and some of the connection can sort of be lost a little bit sometimes.
Kind of like when we did the Lego thing, the Unikitty thing.
Oh, yeah, similar to that. Yeah, and again, it's not a bad thing, but it's something to just be aware of, I guess. So in how you pick activities and what you do, there's always opportunities to draw out particular moments to keep that mindfulness of we're still in a we're still a partnership. It's not just here, do this activity. You know, it's still the partnership moment.
I thought this was so cool. I've never done this before. A mummy pumpkin. A mummy pumpkin? That's so silly. Yeah.
She said, yeah.
So first, there's something that I didn't do to this pumpkin. He still has this store sticker on. That's not too pretty, so I think we can keep that on.
She just threw it on the floor. She kind of cried. I know it's terrible. I shouldn't laugh at that. It's just funny to me. Do you know how many kids do that? They're like, oh, trash is on the floor. And I always feel bad in that moment, to be honest. I'm a little conflicted. I'm like, we should really stop and pick that up. And I'm like, we'll do it at the end. And then I do. I'm conflicted in those moments every time. But
Here. Put it on my floor. You might have to pick it up at the end. You might have more trash, actually. Okay. Now we have our pumpkin guy. He's so cute. Warm, too. He's in my car. And we get to make the pumpkin.
so that's another feedback I would have given myself, by the way. I probably would have accentuated the warm a little bit. I saw her put her hand there. I might have drawn that out a little bit more in like watching myself now.
Mm-hmm.
Where I would have probably put the package aside and really felt it, like kind of explored it together. I mean, as an option, but I realized I didn't really give that much attention, but she did try to like experience it with me. Like she felt it too, which is, I thought that was good.
Into a mummy. Yeah. These are sharp staples right here. Maybe I'll leave the picture out just so we can see the example. They're stickers. I have to peel the back off. I'll show you. Yay!
So when she first started putting the one I gave her on, she, it wasn't sticking because the back was on. She was just sort of putting it. I purposely didn't say anything because I wanted her to have the awareness like, oh, something's not happening. Not to the point of frustration where she's upset, but I wasn't going to say, wait, let me take off your, I wanted her to actually feel what it felt like a little bit, to try something, and then something wasn't happening, so let me figure out what to do type of thing. The other thing I'm noticing just watching it, I always see different things when I watch things, but she was referencing more of my body here than with my face, which makes sense because I was trying to show her an actual thing to do. Which is good because it's still a referencing moment. But watching this even again, I realize how focused she is on the items. Like there's more of a, it's a little bit out of balance, like more so on the pumpkin or the thing and a little bit less on me. So even though she's referencing my body a little bit more, I might have set it up a little bit differently to encourage a little bit how to enhance the we like a little bit more, whether it's maybe carry the pumpkin together on the to the table, like just a way to find a little bit better way to connect, because watching it back I felt like it was a little more itemy than connective. I don't know, but sometimes having a connector, so we call it a connector, whether you guys you just like carry something together. When you set the pace, you actually feel more of a connection with the person. These items, I kind of did present them, but I don't know. In hindsight, it just feels like I might have done a few things like a little bit differently. Not that this was bad. Again, she had a lot of opportunities to think. I just am also considering how to increase opportunities for her to reference me for different reasons. And here, she did reference me, the body, for how to do something, like for instruction, because she was watching right now how to do the stickers. But I think it's important to, that can get easily lost at times because it is like, wow, I mean, so much good thinking is happening, which is a plus.
Mm-hmm.
But also you want to still kind of keep some of the we in there the best you can. It's kind of a tough balance to do sometimes.
Yeah, I'm trying to think, what would I need to think in my head when I'm planning stuff out then
Yeah.
for how to do that?
Well, one thing that I think about, and I'm still, I learn as I go depending on the situation and the child too, but so minimal items for sure, which is what I think this was a minimal amount of items here, but also taking account for, also the affect, the mindset, the attitude of the child at the time. I'm always really excited that she chooses to come and sit. I never tell her, like, come sit with me or anything like that. I mean, it's implied because she's referencing the situation. She sees we're about to do something. But, I mean, and that's very positive. It's just I'm thinking of ways to highlight more connection with her, and it might be more of a physical kind of moving together type of way. Like maybe, the items we need for the project are like across the room and we can move them together, have them in a bag where we each have a handle and carry it to the table. Just something that's a little bit more connecting at times. But also part of it is just sort of picking out slowing down moments, like kind of micro slowing down. Like even before introducing the pumpkin, just kind of waiting instead of getting everything out there right away. Kind of slowing down to where it's like, oh, there's, there is more going on here, but it's a way that includes myself as a guide, as a partner, versus having all the items out on the table already. You know what I mean? So kind of presenting them in that way. It's just a way to create opportunities. I mean, it's not about like, oh, she has to reference me, this is like this big. It's more like I want to create opportunities for her to be aware of me, aware that we're doing it together. At least that's my goal, especially when I'm with her, is really focusing on the we and creating opportunities where I can without being annoying. She was referencing me here in terms of watching my body example of showing her what to do with that confusing eyeball. So.
It's a little bit tricky, so I'm happy to help you if you need a little help. I'll get it started for you. Okay, I started it for you, so I think, let me show you. There you go. You can do the rest, I bet. Oh, the cover's still on. I'll show you. What? Who's doing that? I'm glad you didn't throw that on the floor. Oh, he has eyes! He has eyes! Now he needs... So, let's play on you and on you. Yes. I have his mouth. No. That's a sticker also. Okay. It's a really hard one. help a little bit if you need me to. Here's a fun. Ooh, you got it! That was a hard one!
She didn't give up on that. She really tried hard.
So now he has eyes and a mouth. That part is a little...
So, and then another feedback I would give myself, this is a different, giving myself a lot of feedback, is after each step, like with the eyes, when we put the eyes on, I probably would have held the pumpkin up, kind of again highlighting that moment, like, oh, we just did the eyes. I said it declaratively and she knew what was going on, but to kind of slow it down to make it more of a shared, like, you know, I'm excited about this too type of moment, I might have picked up the pumpkin to like really look and show her how I was feeling about it too, because I think that's a relevant part of the activity. We are doing it together and it's kind of a silly, fun thing. And there are some moments here where I think would be natural, more shared, like emotional moments. So that would be a highlighted moment, maybe after the eyes, after the mouth, like kind of just making it a point to like kind of go, hey, we did this, you know, and then do the next step. So I'd probably do that a little bit differently next time too.
Together.
She's like looking, that is too funny.
You're making faces at the pumpkin. He doesn't have a tongue. Oh dear. He doesn't have a tongue. Okay, so now we get to do the mummy part. And I'm going to do this first step. Okay, so I'm going to put this sticker on the back. Because this is where we get to stick the gauze to. Yeah! Okay. Yeah! So this is going to help it so it stays. Yes!
So that I was really, oh, go ahead.
I was going to say, I have a question, because when I was going through and I was trying to, like, you know, put some text in here about what was happening, and I'm like, now wait a minute, it was, are at this point, wouldn't you want to do, like, the verbal roles, or no? Like, you never said, I don't think you ever said, like, you're going to do this and I'm going to do that, or...
No, I didn't. I was actually on purpose trying to show her. And if you notice, I'll just rewind it a small second. Wait, let's see, where is this? She actually noticed and she came back from the swing. So this was kind of a next layer of scaffolding where, so, okay, so watch, I'm going to press play. So I'm turning to show her where the, you know, I'm starting this. She walked away. I did wrap it a little, well, what I did was, see right here, I stopped and I held it to show her. She came back through observing, well, when she leaves again, but no, if there's I guess a preference of scaffolding, nonverbal would be better because that's her observing, oh, she's waiting for me. Right, the roles here, and you'll kind of see, I did most of it non-verbally, so I'll kind of show you, but I would be very deliberate about, I'd do a wrap, and then I'd hold it, and she'd do a wrap. I didn't feel like she particularly needed it verbalized, or maybe I did end up saying something, but I was trying to see, like, would she be able to co-regulate without me having to give to, I mean, just through observing more than anything. So she did a little bit, and I know this was probably, I mean, it was a new thing for her. You guys hadn't done something quite like this before, but.
Yeah, so we get to go around
And so I stopped right there for her to see. I mean, so I guess the way I scaffolded for her really showed her, instead of the role, because we're kind of doing it together, this part, what to do with this gauze, because it was a weird, slippery sort of situation. So around, but then I stopped because I wanted her to see, oh, I can do some. And then I would do some, and then I'd stop again for her to do some.
Ooh, we cover his eyes too? Yeah. Around. You're doing it. Around. Yeah. That was the end. So now I'm going to get...
So I actually thought, to me, I felt like, in a way, the most like co-regulated with her when we were doing that, because she really had to watch Anne, because in the front, it might have been a little hard to tell, but when I was not doing it for her, I didn't want to do that, but I was kind of trying to guide her. There was this, it was almost like, yeah, if I was going to assign the roles, you do the front, I do the back. But I didn't really need to say that because she was able to observe that's what was happening. Now, if it was confusing or getting out of control, like somehow where the thing was flying everywhere, no, that's when I would clarify it differently, because just to make sense, when things get, you know, like a little chaotic, or I mean, sometimes, yeah, with new things, you do want to do it. But for purposes of her to really be observing and co-regulating, it was like she did her part. It was like a handoff to me and then to her, and then so we had a couple of exchanges. So that to me was probably I think our best like co-regulatory moments of the whole activity. It was like feeling based and observing based more than anything, you know.
This is, now, is this still considered a we type thing, or
Yeah.
even though she's not looking at your face?
Yeah.
She's looking at,
Yeah.
that.
Right. No, yeah, for sure. Because we have to coordinate with one another. So yeah, I wasn't like gripping her where we were doing this and she wasn't doing that to me. So what was very we and co-regulatory is I do a part, my partner does a part, I observe my partner. And the other thing was trying to keep it, there was sort of a feeling component to it, a mutual tension, I guess you could say, so that the gauze didn't just pop up to the top. So there was a way of sort of more of a, like a we feeling base to it, where especially in the beginning, that's why I kind of wanted to show her the around. Because if you notice in the beginning, she kind of flopped it on top and wasn't really sure.
Yeah.
So here's the balance. It's important to know, I mean, people reference when there's a reason. I mean, there has to be a reason. It's not like, oh, I just want her to reference me because it's fun and I like it and she should, you know, not like that, but
look at me.
Yeah. And so if she doesn't actually visually reference me, or we don't have like some kind of heightened emotional moment, that's okay. It's not a bad thing. It's just thinking about kind of scaffolding in a different way, which is kind of the big, I guess, highlight of why I wanted to go through this with you too, is scaffolding on a more kind of like micro level a little bit. And by watching her, you can tell a lot. And sometimes it's in hindsight. It's not always in the moment, but we're always kind of learning from what we do. So her coming to sit right away told me something. Her not noticing right away that I had the pumpkin told me something. So I realized, okay, I needed to wait. That was a scaffold to wait. And then I did end up reaching, that was a scaffold for her to notice. So kind of slowing down a little bit more so that her level of engagement isn't just passive, where I'm kind of giving her things or even telling too much, even declarative telling can sometimes be, it could take away the opportunity for watching or noticing. Does that make sense?
I think so.
Yeah, well, like giving her the sticker, so with the eyeballs, you know, I let her, instead of telling her right away, oh, it has a peel to peel, you know, you have to peel the sticker off. I knew it wasn't going to stick. I knew she wouldn't be able to make it do anything. But I wanted her, as part of a scaffold, to feel it a little bit and see it. Because that's how, partially how we learn, through experience. Like, hey, this isn't working. Okay, why isn't it working? Or, hey, it's not working. You know, my partner might be able to provide something, insight for me, type of thing. It just creates more opportunity than just right away declaratively.
Oh yeah, I see.
Too much.
Just giving her some more time to figure things out.
Yeah, and even if you know it's gonna fail, depending on what it is, you kind of want a person to experience a little bit of that. Again, not to the point of frustration where they feel terrible about, you know, I can't do anything, but just enough so, you know, you're watching to go, how much, you know, uncertainty do we want to build before stepping in a little bit more? So, like, I think, like, at some point I just said, oh, you know, it's a sticker, I can show you. But I also didn't want to take it away from her. I wanted her to choose to get the help if she wanted it. So, I guess thinking about scaffolding in a way that requires a little bit more observing of her and breaking things down to create opportunities where it's not just, I guess, not just through declarative language, but giving her opportunities to actually have a reason to reference the partner. Because even though declarative language is thought-provoking, if it's out of balance a little bit, it could sort of accidentally take away the moments where someone would actually notice the person or look towards the person for information. Does that make a little more sense?
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
The sticker to make the mommy wrap stick. You did it! You did it! You did it! We did it! Oh, you can try it too. It's very tricky. Where it can help. Oh, we needed that.
That was really sweet that she... And again, in hindsight, I don't know, maybe I was having a weird... I watched this, I'm like, I can't believe I didn't do this. I can't believe I didn't do that. But you know what? This is real life guiding, because you know what? This is part of the truth. We're all, as a guide, you just, sometimes you do things one way, and other times you do another. Again, not bad, but I was like, oh, especially when she said we did it, I would have really highlighted that moment differently, like emotionally differently, you know? Like really showing her, like, yeah, because she had some emotion about it, which is super, super cool.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it was kind of a fast sort of show of emotion. And I would have highlighted that more. And I didn't. But I'm human. See, this is good for you to see. I don't have all the... Sometimes in the moment. But no, but this is one reason too, video is so fantastic, because you look, even for me, I'm like, okay, you know what? Next time I'm going to be very mindful of these types of moments differently. You know, but I also think sometimes, depending on the activity, when it's new like this, I haven't done anything like this. Sometimes those things affect guided engagements, like when the guide doesn't necessarily feel super competent with what the activity is. Sometimes we tend to be a little more item focused. And actually, as I'm saying that out loud, that could also very well be where I was sort of feeling that maybe a little bit on her end, is because I was still pacing things fine, but I think I haven't done this before either. So of course my attention was a little more like, all right, what are we doing here?
What are we doing? Yeah.
So, but that's just something to be aware of. So again, like for me in the future, I go, okay, I'm going to be more aware of that. If it is something new, like really new. Oh, sorry, my kitty's coming to say hi. Kevin, I'm busy. These are just good things for any guide to just kind of go, okay, so next time, if something's new, maybe I get a little more familiar with the items before using them, or practice it, or not that, just be a little more transparent about that and stop a little more.
Yeah, because I'm thinking how I could probably, like, I have a lot of stuff right now, like, that we can do together, like, activity-wise, like, craft-wise and stuff like that, or, like, science and experiments and stuff like that, but I'm probably realistically not going to, like, duplicate it before I do it, or I might not have all the materials to do it, so I have to figure out, how exactly am I going to keep that in mind? And still complete what we're trying to do.
It really is truly a balance, though. I mean, because that's the thing, and you kind of have to ask yourself also, what is my goal with this activity in this moment? For me, and that's kind of another thing, I had a few, like, multiple goals. I really wanted to highlight more of the nonverbal scaffolding. That was a huge goal for me here, and also just for the we. Really like the we aspect of it. So, but if I was doing like a science project where it is a little more, you're kind of, naturally you're gonna be watching and anticipating and trying to, it is more item based naturally. That's okay. It's a different like focus, you do just have to kind of balance out, okay, what is my focus here? Do I want to make this like a really big, focus on, sharing and nonverbal communication? Do I want to focus on, really experiencing it with our senses? It's hard to try to manage every possible mindful moment there is. Like, you just can't really do it that way. Do the best you can to slow it down. You always slow it down no matter what, but I guess depending on what the activity is, you can kind of decide what you want your focus to be, and what, maybe depending on what the materials are, that could give you some clues too on what would be the best. Like if there's a lot of steps, preparing, like going, okay, we're going to have a lot of rolls here, like we're going to need a holder and a stirrer and a smacker and a whipper. I don't know, like we're going to do a lot of different things. Or maybe it's just something where we're really going to watch. It just depends on what the activity is. So, but the main point being, when you're scaffolding, you really, the key is, is kind of watching her, what she's bringing or not bringing to the we, and how to provide these opportunities, slowing down. You first want to go kind of like nonverbal to give her an opportunity to notice. If you need to support it with a declarative something, that's okay. But it's kind of evaluating that on a little bit more of a micro level, I guess you could say. But what's funny, so my focus here, and I heard her, that was really cool that she said, we did it. Mm-hmm. That's like significant. Obviously she felt herself in a we, because she wouldn't have said that. I don't think she would have said that.
No, because she does say I did it too. She does use both of those phrases.
Yeah. So that was really exciting. And I didn't ignore it, but in hindsight, like I'm watching going, this could have been more of this could have been potentially more of like an emotional spotlight moment. Not every moment will be an emotional spotlight moment. That could have potentially been one, though, because she brought some emotion to it. And if she hadn't, then that would be a place to still spotlight it, but I would be more of the igniter of the energy.
This is going to help the wrap to stay. See, stick it.
So I'm kind of watching her. But I just waited for her to be ready. She was playing with the eyes, which is totally fine. But I didn't want to proceed until she shifted back like over to me because I didn't want her to miss what it is I was showing her. But I wasn't going to rush her. She was just having fun looking at the eyes. So.
There you go. So, ooh, his eyes and his mouth are covered. That's a scary one.
Oh.
That's your dad.
Wow, the pumpkin has a peekaboo.
That's okay.
That's too funny.
That's so appropriate though, because honestly, like what he was doing kind of was more cool and exciting than, like we had sort of finished. So, I mean, who can blame the girl for wanting to go see what dad was doing with bloody things? So yeah, so I have a lot of feedback for myself. I probably would have used, no, I mean, it's all fine, but to really highlight, there were a couple moments I think probably could have been a little more highlighted with emotion. Like, and also I noticed, and I remember feeling this way at the time, but I didn't, it being as close together as possible physically. A couple times I slid the pumpkin a little bit closer to me because sometimes that creates a little bit of a funny feel too. Like if the physical proximity isn't close enough, and maybe for different guides it feels different. I like to be a lot closer, and that's another thing probably in hindsight I would have moved her even a little bit closer over to me.
Just a lot to try and
Take in. Yeah, okay. Well, the whole idea of watching this together is just really thinking about, well, scaffolding in my mind, because I was thinking there are ways to scaffold and create opportunities more in a nonverbal way than just going straight to a verbal way, because I feel like I didn't do a ton of talking. I mean, I did talking when it was like most relevant, but I really wanted to focus a lot on the noticing and the observation, and but there are some secondary things here, being that one, depending on what the materials are, a guide's mindset's going to be a little bit different too. And that's okay. It's not a bad thing. It's just, oh yeah, like I'm kind of unfamiliar with these, or I've never done this before, whatever the case may be. That doesn't mean it's not beneficial and it wasn't helpful to her dynamic processing. It just means, the focus was probably a little bit more on maybe, the experience versus the people. But that's okay, because both are very important. But then also just looking for, I would say, like a little bit more of opportunity to kind of celebrate emotionally when something, not just verbally though, like we did it, or wow, we finished, or something where it's a more connected celebration than just the words. Well, just the word, more than just the words, but more. And that I think is going to involve actually moving the materials to where they're more, face to face with one another. Like I said, I probably would have held up the pumpkin more and just had a little bit more of a moment with her on that, like really seeing and sharing facially like what we had done versus just commenting on it. Because you know what, those stickers, I don't know if you could tell, but they were hard. I mean, really hard, really, really hard. I mean, I sort of helped, but even then, like they were hard for me. She's really patient with hard things. And not only that, but she really did choose to sit like most of the time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, she did.
instead of coming. And if, you know, she would have gone back and forth, that's okay. And the times that she did come back, it was because she noticed the next step was hers versus me, you know, saying, I need you, or it's your turn. You know, I purposely kind of wanted to at least try. If she hadn't noticed, I would have probably said something. But I wanted to try to show her, like, you know, I'm holding it ready for her, basically, for her to take the turn.
So I should be trying to do that more than verbally then? Or
Yeah, or just at least as a start, like, or not a start, but as a step towards that is really just being aware of that. Like, did I show her before I told her? And again, you're not really telling her, you're declaratively providing some insight. But if she can have the more opportunities, I think, to use her eyes more than just her ears, I think would be helpful. Also to help her with attention shifting. But it is another level of thinking responsibility because she has to rely on the powers of observation and make a connection. Now, if she needs part of the scaffolding, if she needs a little more clarity, nothing wrong with that, then you just want to provide that. You can, but you just want to make sure you give the opportunity for her to notice, and you wait, and then you can clarify something if you feel you need to. You know, so you've learned a ton, and you've become like a really good and more comfortable guide. Like, you're very comfortable with, you know, like the things that you do so much where I love how you on some of your videos, like, indicate, you know, what this is, what that is. Obviously, you're like really, really well versed in all of that stuff. You know, different types of next steps of like parent training and parent learning involved, like looking at things in a little bit different lens regarding scaffolding and, you know, learning to sometimes, well, and you're also very good at this, I think, intuitively, is reprioritizing in the moment. And you're really good at that, usually like based on her feedback, more of like her grand feedback. Like if you can tell something's not right in a more obvious way, you're very good at adjusting and reprioritizing. There's also, you know, a way of looking at things on a little bit more of a micro level when things aren't so obvious. And that's a little bit of what I was trying to look at and point out here and give you what feedback I give to myself. So, you know, that's really important. And also thinking about how to, and we didn't talk about any of this today, but really helping support episodic memory for her too is another, you know, really important area to help her, you know, make really meaningful, like, emotional connections within her experiences too. And part of that could be sometimes just having the emotional moment or just the feeling of competence, but that would be something too that we can, you know, start and amping up a little bit too. Okay. You're really good at taking video and pictures, and that's very helpful. I think we talked about too her taking some of her own pictures and her experiences. Have you tried that at all?
Yeah, but she just says no. She doesn't want to do it.
She doesn't want to do it? Okay.
She doesn't want to do it.
Okay. All right. Video or photo, or just photo?
Either.
Okay.
So I don't know why.
Interesting.
For a while, she liked to do that.
Oh, okay.
Like, she's just been kind of different lately, all the way around.
Okay, like personality different.
Yeah, she's just kind of different.
Going up a little different. Okay. Well, remember, everything's information. Doesn't mean it's bad. Doesn't mean it's good. I mean, she's a kid, and kids go through their things, you know, phases of.
And I'm like, which thing is this right now?